The Bank of China maintains the sovereign funds, about 250 trillion. In this country, there was a time when this country had over 200 trillion in sovereign funds. We're down to about 70. What does that mean? That means that there's still wealth here, but there's not enough wealth to maintain the empire. So the only two things that the U.S. has to maintain its empire is its capacity to kill.
Exploitation.
And its human capital. And then it only needs 16% of that human capital. So some of our thinking, it seems to me, for some of us, has to go to, what do we do next? I'm working on building these partnerships. I do alternative energy. Solar, wind, hydroelectric energy projects in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Cambodia I love because Cambodia looks, very quickly, the Vietnamese are the Creole Cambodians. The Chinese invaded Cambodia, and the Vietnamese are what's left. And the Cambodians are, they run a mixture of colors. The mass of the population looks like the people in this room.
That's right.
Including body shape.
That's right.
Including big behinds. And,
that's right.
And stocky, muscular built, and this, and all of this stuff. But you have to go to Cambodia to see. And it's important. Over this past 5-6 years, we've taken probably 50 or 60 young people to Cambodia. Same thing, we used to take people to Africa. We take them to train in doing alternative energy work. One of the persons who we took over about 3 years ago is now the person who's the director of all the ground programs in something called GRID Alternatives, which is a program that gets government funding to provide solar power to underserved communities. If you don't have money, GRID Alternatives can provide solar energy for your home. This young brother who lived in Atlanta, went to jail, almost went to prison in Atlanta. I happened to help keep him out of prison. It was in Ohio, he got a degree in Ohio, came down to Atlanta, started hanging out. We snatched him up, took him with us, and now he runs this program. He now trains people on how to do solar installation around the country. And since we don't allow failures, everybody who comes in, whether they have a skill or not, young people we bring in, we take with us, we train them. And they either work with us for 3 years or more, or we train them enough so that they could come back. Then they have an international portfolio. First of all, they travel many of them all over the world, to Brazil or wherever the case. So we take young people, and we actually take them literally to the place where they can train. It's very difficult for young black people, to be trained in the solar community here because it's a libertarian or racist community. It's too bad. That doesn't mean what they're doing is wrong. It just means that they are people who are themselves culturally isolated, and they have a tendency to be incestuous about who they allow into their arena. And although I thought that the Obama administration was going to put up some real money so that for alternative energy, so it would trickle down, he decided to go with nuclear energy, for which you can't build a nuclear plant in this country because no insurance company in the world will insure it. But he gave them $20 billion, and he gave the oil companies $6.5 billion, and gave $1.5 billion for administrative purposes to the solar thing. So the reason I'm doing solar outside this country is because I can't do solar inside this country. There's no resources. However, very shortly now, there's going to be an infusion of capital into this arena. And that's when we're going to go from choose 25 communities, and we're going to hopefully be invited into these communities so that we can begin to train people to do alternative energy solutions to as many affected people. Now, we're not simply talking about homeowners. We're talking about people wherever they live, and using everything from solar stoves to solar air conditioning to solar, all of that can be done.
Sure.
We can train, we're still the most skilled African people on the planet. Our day-to-day skills with our iPhones is more advanced than most people in the world. So there are things that we can do with the skill our children can do. I saw perfect examples of those, of that small group of people who are going to develop. In your meeting earlier today, we need to hit that second, that third, that fourth tier of young people. That's one thing. The second thing is, whenever we institute a project, we start a project with people who have a culture of work behind them. We usually start with unemployed blacks who have worked and lost their jobs in the last year because they still have the culture of work. And so they come and they set the example for our young people who for 2 generations have been taught against physical labor. You know, young brother will tell you in a minute, I don't do no physical labor. I don't do that, you know. But once people get into it, T, the young brother I was just talking about, he was a perfect example. I mean, built like a brick, man. I mean, hard as nails. You know, I was working out, I don't do no physical labor, Dr. G, I can't get out there and do no physical. He's out there in the hot sun putting those things up all the time. He loves it. Why? Because this is his. He owns this. He knows how to do this, right? He knows how, and he knows how to show other people how to do it. He now knows this. You have to drag him off the rooftops now. But that's because he now has been exposed to other people who work. Vietnamese do not play. They get up. Everybody there has a shop. The people who work in the shop have a shop. The people who shop at the shop have a shop. Their children have a shop. Everybody work. They don't mind over there, that work is part of the culture. Just like mathematics is part of the culture. So T, who didn't think he could do the math necessary, because this was supposed to be a very complicated math problem trying to put together solar. No, put it together. Once you put it together 2 or 3 times, you got it. Then you can see the links between it, right? Just like shooting dice, you know? It's just like flipping coins. All of this is math. That's physics, man.
Yes, sir.
Right? It's just that what we don't do is we don't translate that physical thing to an abstract thing, right? These folks link the physical with the abstract.
Yes, sir.
So this is something we can learn. We can learn how to do this. Our young people can learn how to do this. Our young people can even learn how to do physical labor. Where they don't see it as something, the most horrible thing they can do is wash dishes. What am I talking about? I'm a father of African children. Hello. So I can tell you that no matter what wolf tickets I sell, it ain't easy. But they have all these mathematical skills that they're working out on the computer games. Mathematical formulas for murder and destruction. How you calculating 18 or 20 moves ahead on computer games and can't figure out a physics or chemistry problem, but they're figuring them out every day, except that the people who rule us have trained us to lock us into this is the only place that we can manifest excellence. We can beat this computer game. So, but I'm interested in that first group that you guys have, because you folks have put a lot of energy into your children. But we're gonna, in order for us to elevate ourselves, we're gonna need the second tier, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth tier. One of the members of the Bloods, E.T. Harry knows well. His name is Tim Wright. He was one of the founders of the Bloods, street gang member. He now owns the largest minority-owned law firm in this country. Wow. He is the attorney for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I just sat with him with Pacific Gas and Electric. He's my lawyer. He was also the Obama family lawyer. And he was also the attorney for the brother who what's his name, put in in the Senate role as the Senate. He was one of the 2 lawyers who represented him. That's Timothy Wright, out of the Bloods, Compton, California. Hello. Am I talking to my Nicky Diari? That's the 3rd, 4th tier. He's supposed to fail. He could play football. That's it. Read newspaper? No. I used to do a terrible thing. I used to leave students. I'd be going someplace when I was at Claremont. I used to leave groups of students at my house. Well, you know, they're going to go and screw around. They're going to this and that. You know. So I leave them with a stack of books. Every one of you had to read every book. Whatever else you did was your business. But you read, I come back here, I want to make sure everybody who stayed here, well, that's where they congregated. That was the place they were safe. That was a place that they could work through. Well, here, I'm leaving you with a stack of books and 10 questions.
So you're right.
I want you to analyze each one of those questions, just like the brother who's the head of the Georgia State Black student. He would have his students. No, you take it on yourself. Each one teach one. If somebody doesn't understand this, you make sure that they understand it. At San Francisco State, how do we build that unity? We built the unity, we brought new students in, and then we made every black student, wasn't about 100 black students on the campus, we made every black student responsible for another black student. That black student didn't fail, you failed. We're gonna call you out at your church, at your mama's house. We're gonna call you out, this student failed, you failed. You take responsibility for the well-being of not simply the 1st tier, but the 2nd tier, and the 3rd tier, and the 4th tier. The way we extract our children from the people who rule us is to extract our children from the people who rule us and then take responsibility for having carried out that extraction. We can't wait. I mean, we understand, we love Brother Obama, this and that and the other. If not before, then later. As soon as he got in, an economic hitman sat down with him and read him the facts.
Before.
This is an empire.
Yes.
This is an empire. It's an empire. It's a profound historic act for a black person to advance past the little table. When I came from Texas, so in Thanksgiving you have the big table for the adults. So it's our right to advance to the table. It's our right to advance to the table. But he ain't at the head of the table.
That's right.
He don't sign the checks for the table. This is an empire. That 1% makes the decisions. He carries out the policy, right? And if he doesn't carry out the policy, and they have contending forces. They can cut him loose and put Mama Clinton in. This is an empire. They're gonna do the same thing to her. Whoever you put it, we can't romanticize. We can care about and understand and recognize and praise the fact that we have people there. But these people in China say, there's only one other than me. And I'm at the table because of my association. I happen to be at that historic place at that time. That's my karma. My grandmother told me, Jimmy, you will be present at the creation. That's going to be that's your burden. I'm present. I was present with the sit-ins. I was present with the Freedom Rise. I was present with the Freedom Schools. I was present with the Liberation Schools. I'm present. That's my burden. But everybody doesn't have to be there. Everybody doesn't have to be present there. Colin Powell, they say, is the only person who's ever sat at the table, and this country made a decision that we're not going to have you because you may have some independent spirit.
That's right. That's right.
So they said, no, they told his wife, we'll take him out.
That's right.
He'll never make it across the bridge.
That's
we'll
right.
take him out.
That's right.
We understand that's what empires do. Empires, people who control empires, rule with a coldness. So they can coldly decide to give you somebody who looks like you. Right. And then use that very person to beat you to death. They can give you black police.
That's right.
Right? They can give you black military. Right? Right? They can give you, we had in my organizations I've been a part of, they gave us black spies. Look just like us. Cute spies. Fine. Beautiful. Spies. Fantastic sisters. Right? Spies. So that happens. That happens. The empire is not a lover of people, it's a lover of power and wealth. if a place like this, as a part of its engagement, continues its discussions about the depth of the empire and the shift in the paradigm on one hand, the working